The Clare Valley is a tiny wine region in Australia. It's 1% of the Australian wine industry, but it's a very special 1%. And we have a reputation around the world. We're the same size as Chablis as far as the world wine industry goes. It's a very tiny area. And those people who appreciate Chablis as a special wine area would understand the similarity of Clare being special. So because it's so tiny, the people with very good palates seek out those wines and they say, hey, this is not Chardonnay from Burgundy, this is Chardonnay from Chablis. So it's a micro area with people with very special palates stumble across it and realise that it makes very special wine. So although the Clare Valley is a tiny 1% of the Australian wine industry, famous for Riesling, we make 20% of Australia's Riesling. And not everybody understands that the Australian wine industry has evolved as many areas in Europe have, and the variety that suited that area has become dominant over decades and decades of winemaking. And that's what's happened with Clare in making Riesling. On the flip side of being able to make Riesling, we're very fortunate to be able to make Shiraz and Cabernet Sauvignon. And the elegance of Riesling, of being able to make Riesling, is reflected in the elegance of the red wines that we're able to make. So Clare has structure and tannins, but the tannins are very fine, like Rieslings are very fine. We don't make jam. Many people think about Australia as making wines that are jammy, but we make red wines with definition of fruit definition, be it cherries, be it berries, blackberries, be it raspberries, be it plums. It's not a jam, it's a definition, and these are the cool nights in the special area that we live in. Clare is not that different to Eden Valley in the reflection of the wines that we make. Today at a tasting, looking at a dozen wines from Australia, with Australia's first families of wine. There was Stephen Henschke's Hill of Grace and our Armagh, and of all the wines of the 12 wines, they look like brothers. One might be taller, one might be smaller, one may have different shoulders to the other, they're different ages, but those two wines in the lineup of the 12 wines were brothers. They were from the same genetic, elegant material that grew those grapes that made those wines. And today was the first time I'd seen that in my experience of tasting Stephen's wines. He's a great friend for many, many years, but I hadn't seen the two wines in that light before, in a tasting of all the wines.